Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So it's currently the 10th of July, which means it's only 2 days until my exciting announcement coming on Sunday. I'm so nervous, so excited for it, but it's a project I've been working on for a while, and yeah, hopefully you're all going to join me for that because I'm just so excited for it. Oh, I can't even explain, but today's video is going to be a DIY on some polymer clay charms. I'm loving playing around with clay at the moment, so I've made Animal Crossing inspired macaron charms out of polymer clay and then resin for the glazing and making them super shiny and that sort of stuff. So if you want to see how I made these charms, then just keep on watching. So like I said, these charms are going to be made from polymer clay. The polymer clay that I like to use is either the shade called Rose or it's called Flesh in the shade Light. This is just the polymer clay I like to use by Fimo in the soft kind of variation. I just like the texture of it. It works well for me. I find different colours can be like different textures, and this is the one I like. So I've rolled out a whole load of little balls around about 1 centimetre in diameter. Then I just pushed them down into this mold of a macaron kind of shell, which I bought from Etsy a little while back now. The original seller that sold this don't actually sell them anymore, but there are a few sellers on there if you're looking for one. Mine is around about 1 inch in diameter, like the actual kind of macaron base is. So I did this over and over, pressing that ball of polymer clay like in and down and around in the kind of mold just to make sure it had all of the detail on, and then I removed it from the mold. You can bake it in the mold, but considering I needed 10 for this project, I just did it this way. So I went over and over with the balls and then just popped them in, pulled them out, popped them in, pulled them out until I had 10. I then baked them in my oven at 110 degrees Celsius for around about 15 minutes because they are quite thin, and I know that over baking them just isn't going to make them any stronger because the polymer clay is obviously just a little bit thinner than usual. So once all of the pieces were out of the oven and cooled down, I then moved on to assembling the macarons. The way I do this is taking another ball of polymer clay, getting one shell, popping it in the middle like squished down, and then sticking the other one on top, and then just like pressing them down with my fingers and thumbs until I'm really happy with the way that like the inside has spread out and that they're fully kind of attached to each other. I try to match up the different macarons to each other before kind of pairing them up, just to make sure that they're kind of around the same size, as when you take them out of the mold they can sometimes warp a little bit and become different kind of shapes, so I matched them all up to make the best fit. Once I had all of the fillings inside, it was then time to add on the details. As I said before, I baked the shells, and this is just so that I can get the macarons like put together nice and neatly without kind of, you know, squishing or getting any grossness on it or anything. It's just easier for me to have a hard base to kind of sculpt on. So as you can see here, I'm adding 2 small balls of polymer clay to make the ears, and then using a needle just to kind of really blend that down into the original base. And then I used a cocktail stick just to like mess up the end edges to make them blend with the macaron edges from the shells. So once I had that done, I then inserted an eye pen into the filling. Because this was still soft, it went in quite easily. Then I baked it in the oven for a second time. I went on and did the other macarons, so I added like different bits onto them depending on what characters I was doing. This one here is going to be Isabel, so I've done like her hair at the top, and then I've done like the ears coming down the side. I think these are ears. They could also be hair. I'm really not sure. Like I said, never played the game, I just love looking at the characters. I think they're adorable. So yeah, I popped all the like 3D bits on, and I know like the rest of the detail and stuff can go on after, like painting it on with nail art brushes or dotting tools or something. The majority of the detail will be in the painting, but I like to do the major kind of pieces with polymer clay. I don't use any fancy tools. A lot of people ask me if I use like different tools and stuff. Mainly just use a small like kit of icing tools which I got from Hobbycraft. As you can see here, this is one of those tools. Like the set cost me no more than £3 for like 8 tools or something. Just found it in the cake decorating bit. Polymer clay tools can sometimes come at an inflated price when they're really just the same thing as like icing tools or like other clay tools, so just have a little look around and see what you can find. Like I said, once all the details were on, I baked them again, let them cool down, and then just use my usual kind of technique for painting. So when painting, I put mine on some blue tack onto a ceramic tile, just so that I'm able to like turn it around, move it around without touching the piece, and it's just stay in one place whilst I paint it and get all up and around into it. And also I haven't got to touch it much, which means less fluff, less kind of dust on the piece. I get so much fluff on my polymer clay charms, what I used to before using this technique. Honestly, would recommend it. To paint on the little details, I use nail art brushes. You can buy these off of like Amazon or eBay or something. These ones here came from eBay, but I usually buy them in home bargains because they are so cheap. Like you pick up a pack of like 5 for £1, and they work so well because the brushes are so small. So I just painted on all of the details with mix of just acrylic paints on there, just really making sure to build them up in nice thin layers, not to take away from any of the texture of the macaron, but also to be nice and opaque. For some of the details, I do like to use Posca paint pens. These are acrylic paint in pen form. I try to steer away from using them sometimes because it can crack, or it can be like expensive just to use Posca paint pens all the time. So I like to use just normal acrylic paints. I find a better finish with them. But for small details like eyes, sometimes I just need like a little bit more focus, a little bit more patience, and I will just use the Posca paint pen like you would have just seen on Marina's eyes. For Isabel, I've just painted on the 2 tones of the yellow. I think this looks so cute. Oh my goodness. Going back in with a nail art pen, and as you can see here with the Posca paint pen, I'm just drawing her eyes on just because it was much simpler for me to do that, and it was going to be quicker for me to do that rather than using my long kind of brushed nail brushes. This was just easier. I used the Posca paint pen as well to paint on her nose and her mouth as well, getting a really tiny little line there, which worked out perfectly. For the middle bits of the macarons, because I painted them all in like one base layer to begin with, I did go back in and paint the white filling in. Well, I painted the filling in white just to make it stand out a little bit better. I just like my macaron fillings to be white. I did actually forget on Tom Nook's to do that before glazing. I don't know what it was. I just got carried away with the glazing and the resin, and I forgot to paint that in, so I had to like cure the glaze, and then I had to go back in and paint it and then cure it all again because I needed to seal that in. But as you can see here, just painting on all the details nice and smooth. Oh yeah, he looks adorable. So for my glaze, I use UV resin. I cure it under a nail lamp, which I recently got. Used to use an LED UV light, which worked perfectly, but for more pieces like this, it takes forever. So I figured I would just invest in a lamp, and I'm so glad I did. I put on a small thin layer of UV resin, cure that down, and then mix in some iridescent glitter into my resin. Put a nice layer of that on to add some sparkle, and then I'll cure that down and put more UV resin on again, and that's pretty much what I do. This was the point, by the way, that I realised I forgot to paint that white bit on Tom Nook's, but you know, what can you do? Then just, you know, as it is, put my UV lamp over it, set it to go, and let that cure. So this is how all of the polymer clay charms have turned out. I don't know if you can see this, but they are super glittery, like really glittery. Look all that glitter on there, all on the front and the back where I've put all the UV resin. They are just looking so cute. You can see the glitter better on these ones. Look at that. Oh, I'm absolutely in love with them and all of their 3D details. I have added a little double split ring just here on the eye pin, and then just a little lobster clasp. Love to use double split rings just because I feel like they're more secure, we're less likely to lose anything, and I just like that. There's 3 layers of UV resin on here in total, so that's going to act as a protector and act as a good like structural piece as well. Like, that's going nowhere. My favourite out of the lot is this little Tom Nook one. Like, look at that. He looks so cute. Oh my goodness, cannot get enough of that. I feel like I wish I did more pastel colours on them because I'm more of a pastel fan myself. But, you know, I've done them true to kind of the Animal Crossing characters, and I'm really happy with the way they've turned out into like little macarons and stuff. I just think it makes a little change and makes them look so cute. So I may be adding these onto my shop in the future. I'm not 100% sure now. I'm sure some people are going to ask me about that because I do now have an Etsy shop. I've made a few sales on there now. now. Thank you to anyone who has bought off there. I'm seeing all of you, and I'm seeing all the messages and stuff you're asking me to create different things. At the moment, I'm just sort of treating it as a platform to kind of sell some bits that I'm already making, rather than taking customs and that sort of stuff. And hopefully that thing which I was talking about at the start of the video, and that's coming on Sunday, will be able to be on there in the future. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed today's video, and I will see you very soon for another one. Bye.